Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Renison Jeffrey, and this is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live from the Workers' Rights Studio. Now, today, we were attempting, we had a little technical difficulties today, and for the show would have run a little late. Now, today, we would have witnessed an interview that would have taken place today in the area of San Fernando by the OWTU Union. And the thing about it is this: we are here to rebroadcast. Many of you may not be on their platforms, and many of you would have known that this whole tragic thing in which they closed down Petrotrin and some odd 20,000, 2,100 people would have lost their jobs. And many of you, through that same statement, we could say that we have the acclaim, as I would have said, that we could call the president, not the president, the prime minister a liar by mere essence of this video that we are going to play here today.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. The statement from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley at a PNM public meeting in Marabella on Tuesday night. In the heartland of the Pointe-a-Pierre Refinery, the Prime Minister said the government was so confident with the rectitude of its action that it was not prepared to shy away from the people who are affected most by the action. He also had one message for the mothers, sisters, neighbors, and those attached to the Petrotrin business.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
The Prime Minister described Petrotrin as an integrated company involved in many areas of business.
It's involved in owning assets. It's involved in looking for oil. It's involved in piping oil. It's involved in drilling for oil. It's involved in refining oil and getting refined products. It's involved in marketing its refined products.
Now, from that mere statement, we can safely say that the Prime Minister is a liar, and without fear of being charged or without fear of contradiction. Now, some interesting facts that we must know concerning this Petrotrin affair, in which the government would have appointed a board on the 7th, 2017. And the last time that the Petrotrin refinery would have refined oil was in 2018, sorry. I'm still going through the facts. I'm trying to call it out of my mind. You see me putting my glasses, well, right. Petrotrin Trinidad and Tobago, a state-owned oil company, ceased refining operations on August 28, 2018 after 101 years in the oil refining business. The decision to shut down the refinery was made by Petrotrin Board of Directors, which was appointed on September 2017 to identify the problems at the company and to take steps to make itself self-sustainable and profitable. So they closed down Petrotrin and claim saying that they're trying to make it self-sufficient and sustainable. Now, all of us here have our own theory as to why they would have closed down Petrotrin. All of us here could come with facts, as I would have seen, as to why they would have put 2,100 people on the breadline and supporting industries. Now we had to at least multiply that by 4. We had to at least multiply it by 4. We ain't talking about the children, the spouse, if he was the only breadwinner, if he was the breadwinner and how much spouses, but that goes for debate. But what we are here to do today is to broadcast the union meeting that would have taken place today in OWTU Hall. Right, some more interesting facts for you to know before we head right into that broadcast is this. The refinery, some of the reasons for Petrotrin closure was the refinery was at a loss-making enterprise that was sinking the company financially. That is what they say. Petrotrin crude oil production has declined significantly, requiring the import of expensive foreign crude oil to run the refinery. That is our next thing. Our next one was Petrotrin had accumulated large debts of 850 million and was due in August 2019. So that was some of the reasons why as they would have closed down Petrotrin. That was the examples. That was some of the comments at the time that was spun in the media. But however, going down later down into it, we would have seen some of the facts. It would have read social media, but we ain't going there yet. To the average man on the street, this program here this evening is very important to you. So we are going into the press conference that was held today, and the union are going to break down the facts for you. Facts that we do not know about, well, as I say, at this point in time. So we go and play that for you today.
Yeah.
Come and pick up the phone, put it on side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and tell. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Because we are our daily bread, because trespass. As we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but us from all that is evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. 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 Heavenly Father, Master and friend, we come to you this morning with no power of our own, but through your merciful Son, Jesus. My God, we call on you once again, thanking you, Lord, for the better life, Lord, and being able to be on this spot of ground this morning, Lord. Mighty God, calm our hearts, strengthen our spirit, mighty God. For the spirit belongs to you, mighty God. Mighty God, as we are about to engage in this particular exercise this morning, send that Holy Spirit, that sweet, sweet spirit, to engulf this room, mighty God, and to take full charge of all that is being said, all that is being done, mighty God. Because everything must be done in accordance to decency and in order, and in accordance to your will, mighty God. Mighty God, as you told us, as you would have led the children of Israel out of Egypt, mighty God, it was Moses. Moses who told you, well, Lord, you choose me, I can't really talk. But you sent Moses a armor-bearer. You sent him a mouthpiece. And then you put a lot of good, strong, and powerful men and women of God around him, mighty God. Mighty God, in that frame, mighty God, I ask you, Lord, to encompass from our religion. Be with him, Lord. From the corner of his head, so that he Lord. Be with his armor-bearers. be with the men and women who continue to support truth and justice, to support a fairness and equity in Trinidad and Tobago. Mighty God, this is not for any fashion or reason. This is about you, God, continuing to touch our hearts, to continue in this vein, Lord. So, mighty God, take charge of every word that come out of Ancel Roget's mouth this morning, Lord. Let it be clearly the message that you wanted to say this morning. Mighty God, I've been in media before, the media workers, Lord, the media houses, the editors, and the owners of media houses in Trinidad and Tobago. Mighty God, Father God, we are all your children. Mighty God, let's ask the Lord to put the spirit of truth, the spirit of truth, the spirit of truth in the reporting and in the delivery, Lord. Mighty God, be with them as they leave here and give us to the respective workplaces and homes, Lord. Protect their families, Lord. For indeed, media workers play critical in what man calls
Let's come back. All right, let me extend a pleasant and a very good Tuesday morning to you, members of the media, and thank you for coming to cover this a little bit more than brief, but this very important statement that the OWTO feels we should inform the public about at this time. So thank you very much and welcome to the headquarters of the Alphys Workers Trade. I want to start by saying that when the statement is made that the refinery and the assets that surround it at Pointe-à-Pierre belongs to the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago, that statement is true. It belongs to all of the people, all of the taxpayers. Indeed, it belongs to our children and those who will make up the future of this country, because that asset belongs to Trinidad and Tobago. But I also want to say that those who are in government has a responsibility to not just conveniently say that the refinery is the asset of Trinidad and Tobago and the people and the taxpayers, but the diplomatic center is also the asset of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the taxpayers. So when someone gets up and starts to rant and rave, as though he forgot to take his tablets, when he starts to go as though he's spinning out of control, I want to remind him through you, the media, that the diplomatic center, the office of the Prime Minister, those assets belong to the people. And I will tell you why in an explanation in just a bit. All of those assets and the government of which he is Prime Minister is accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the taxpayers. Because we, the taxpayers, pay them. And we often forget that we employ them. We are the employers. And I want us in the coming weeks, months, as we head into this general election, to remember that as a people. The people of Trinidad and Tobago employ the government. We employ the government to improve the quality of our lives and standard of living and to protect us and to ensure that we are safe and secure. That's the basic responsibility. But everything that was done from since they got that job to present is the opposite. They have not protected the lives of the people. They have not improved the quality of lives of the people. They have not ensured that we are safe in our homes. All of those things, they have failed. So generally, they have failed on the job that they're supposed to do. Now, now, what we have here in Trinidad and Tobago is madness and chaos, and people just spinning out of control. But unfortunately, what we also have is a people who either forget or people who just allow themselves to be fooled, and some people just support the nonsense with the highest level of hypocrisy that has ever visited our land. Hypocrisy, and remember that word. Why am I saying all of this ahead of my presentation this morning? I'm saying this because my takeoff this morning is on an article that was captured on Saturday in one of the newspapers, and I'm not going to say it because I'm not advertising any particular newspaper this morning, but it was captured, you do your research, it was captured on Saturday, June the 22nd, an article. And the article is headlined, "Government Pressing Ahead with Refinery Sale." And a sub-headline that says, "Young says interested industrialist is a very successful businessman." In that article, you also saw, as if it's in the face of everybody, you also saw a smiling Keith Christopher Rowley, our country's Prime Minister, holding hand or shaking hand with the businessman in the diplomatic center. And I'll come back to that in a while. In the diplomatic center, it's not Rowley's diplomatic center. You want another shot? Take it. It's not in Rowley's diplomatic center or PNM diplomatic center, in the diplomatic center owned by the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the taxpayers. So when he talks about the taxpayers, let us examine what the taxpayers is getting. And I want to quote from that article a bit. And it starts, "The Minister of Energy and Energy Industries yesterday described Indian industrialist Navid Jindal, who has expressed interest in the oil refinery at Point-à-Pierre, as a very successful businessman, even though the billionaire is currently before an Indian court on corruption allegations." Very successful, the quote, "very successful businessman, even though the billionaire is currently before an Indian court on corruption allegation." And it went on. Stuart Young added that those charges were from a very long time ago. The article continues. On Monday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley met with Jindal, the chairman of Jindal Steel and Power Limited, at the Diplomatic Center in St. Anne's. According to the Office of the Prime Minister, quote, "Mr. Jindal is interested in the potential of the Point-à-Pierre refinery," end of quote. And that interest formed part of the discussions with the Prime Minister. Let's just pause right there for a while. According to the Office of the Prime Minister, this is a quote coming from official release from that office, quote, "Mr. Jindal is interested in the potential of the Petrotrin refinery," end of quote. And that interest formed part of the discussion with the Prime Minister. Let's stop right there. I'll come back to Mr. Jindal and this controversy and chaos and scandal that surrounds him in a little while. Did we not pass procurement legislation last year in our parliament? After much pressing for it, the trade union movement and so on, and the Contractors Association and all interested law-abiding citizens, did we not press for and finally got procurement legislation? You tell me this morning, what part of that legislation allows or requires the Prime Minister to meet with an interested party in purchasing an asset of the state before anything else happens? But that's not all. The sale of the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery is now involved in a process, a bidding process, non-binding bidding process. And that process has some 8 interested parties who would have provided or supplied the requirements to the one that has undertaken the responsibility for that process, and that is Scotiabank International. So Scotiabank International has been given, quote unquote, as an independent body, given the responsibility to go through and to select the bid and put that bid before the cabinet, the most successful bid. And I tell you, I can't speak on behalf of the rest of them, but I can tell you, in the past, let me remind the country that we would have won that bid against some 76 other international contenders, because we would have supplied, responded to, and given them all of the requirements. And I can also tell you that every single requirement, every single request, every single thing they requested in this current process, we have provided that. So we're in the game. We are in a process that is engaged right now, supplying all of the requirements. But I want to tell you that that bidding process was closed on May 10th. Let me say that again. The process that is currently engaged to select a purchaser for those assets has been closed on May 10th. May 10th, 2024. That's last May. Ups come this last week, Indian businessman in the diplomatic center, in the face of procurement legislation, in the face of the procedure and the process that is being engaged, up comes Indian businessman in a display of supreme bias, discussing the same asset with the Prime Minister. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, that could never, ever be correct or right. That could not be ethically correct, morally correct, spiritually correct, and it's definitely not lawfully correct and right. And that those people, the hypocrites in the PNM now and the sycophants, they would have been making heavy weather out of that with another government, another Prime Minister doing that. Let's be real. They would have been raising issues, but everybody is silent in the face of the flouting of a process where a Prime Minister believed that the refinery is his. I want to tell him this morning, and don't be afraid to clap, comrades, because you don't be afraid of Rowley. Rowley is a bully, but the OWT is not afraid of anybody. So don't be afraid to be caught clapping against the bully. Keith Rowley, as far as we see, understand, and know, he tries to bully everybody and get everybody afraid. But I want to say this morning, before we go any further, we have never been afraid of the colonial masters in this country. We have never been afraid of Dr. Eric William. We have never been afraid of Ian.R. Robinson. We have never been afraid of Patrick Manning, God rest his soul. We have never been afraid of Basdeo Pandey. We have never been afraid of Kamala Prasad Bisesa. So who the hell is Keith before Rowley? We are not afraid of him at all, at all, at all. So don't threaten us. Don't try to frighten us or threaten us. We are not afraid of you. And in any case, my advice is for you to make sure before you leave home, take your medicine. Yeah? So, back to this business here of the procurement legislation. We have had procurement legislation. We have involved in a process. Other contenders are involved in this process. Process closed May 10th. No extension, but here now you have Prime Minister saying, when they would have said that at the end of June, they would announce who are the successful one, who are the successful bidder in the process. You have arbitrarily extending the process to the end of August as an announcement coming from this man who speaks about the taxpayers and the taxpayers and the taxpayers, as if the taxpayers are some people sitting in a pavilion looking on. The taxpayers are we, the workers, the people of this country, all of us who that asset belong to. And we will not sit idly by. This is a scandal in the making. This is a scandal in the making where the Prime Minister could just get up and announce that he changed the date, change the rules of the game, engage a businessman, display extreme bias, because nobody else was invited to the diplomatic center to talk about the process and to talk about the refinery. This person has. Well, let us just examine this person that has been entertained in our diplomatic center. Trinidad and Tobago, the people, the man in the street, all of us, the taxpayers. Let us examine who the Prime Minister entertained in the diplomatic center. And I want to ask the question this morning. According to the Forbes, it says Naveed Jindal in trouble again. And Forbes talk about Naveed Jindal accused of graft. Yeah. And then we have not just Forbes, we have Business Today India, Business Standard India, all of these are Indian newspapers. Hindustan Times, yeah, and Live Mint website. I think I may need a clothesline to hang up all of these articles and headlines for you here this morning. And it talks about this person, Naveed Jindal, and four others cheating, cheating with cheating and criminal conspiracy. Serious thing here, criminal conspiracy, bribery, and it talks about the court orders framing of additional charges against Naveed Jindal. Eh? So, except we may have missed something, that person who comes from another time zone across the world comes to our shores, gets this special treatment, because we were not there. I am not aware that the other contenders were there. I didn't see any picture to that effect. Special treatment from the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for some assets that are currently being engaged in a process, an official process, which process for submission of bids was closed. So we want to ask the Prime Minister, is this person involved in the process? We want to ask him what special considerations were given to this billionaire, as Stuart Young would have described. You know, it is only in Banana Republic, the likes of us here, and we are not a Banana Republic. Some of the people have Banana Republic minds. In America, this morning, in the United Kingdom, this morning, Saturday morning, the morning after this occurred, the people, the Parliament would have been demanding what were the discussions that took place between the Prime Minister of the UK or the President of the United States of America. What were those discussions that took place? But mankind could come out and shake hands. But let's go further. The report that from where I'm quoting this morning. A 2013 Forbes report soon surfaced stating that Jindal was allegedly involved in a scandal called Colgate, and that's not the toothpaste, Colgate, leading to India's federal police filing a case against Jindal Steel and Power Limited over coal mining rights. The Prime Minister has already said he was unaware of those charges. So, Trinidad and Tobago, so any number could play. So you could dream, you don't dream, you get up in the morning, you play 36, you see Rowley later in the day, or you see him before, any number could play. Because this man, this Prime Minister, said he's unaware. So what type of due diligence was done? What type of due diligence was done before you have this person at the diplomatic center? I mean, if it's your own home somewhere, that's a different thing. And everything I'm saying this morning, everybody know is right, true, and correct, you know. Everybody know that, you know. But those hypocritical people, those deceitful people would have been on the radio, you could have heard them morning, noon, and night talking about how Kamala could entertain this man, or how Pandey could entertain this man, or how Robinson could entertain this man just because it's not PNM. But I want to tell you this morning that something is radically wrong, and this is a scandal of monumental proportions. It must not go by just like that, because we're going to be raising it over and over. So here's the Prime Minister has already said that he was unaware of those charges. Following the signing of the exploration and production license at the Ministry of Energy and International Waterfront Center headquarters on Rising Road yesterday, Young said, that little fella who gets silk and humble and feel and saying that he's humble with the silk. Humble, the silk will make him increase the charges for briefs, make him richer, but he's humble with the silk. I guess we will want all the people to be humble. So give all the people in the country silk, because silk giving out like milk, And then mankind would try to justify that in the sports day by talking about Attorney General for 5 years, who served this country for the most duncy Attorney General we ever had in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. The most duncy Attorney General. Under him, you now have people who are what? Who are charged with murder for the first time in the history of this country. They are given bail in this seriously crime-ridden country, Trinidad and Tobago, under him. But he gets silk. He gets silk. I guess the only thing he could do is one muscle, less brain, pull tug of war. That's the only thing that they are good for. No brain at all. But he gets silk, and mankind justifying that. And if it was somebody else, the hypocrisy, they would have been tuning up the place. They are a set of hypocrites, but they are a set of fancy hypocrites. So, here's what Stuart Young said. At that signing, I would imagine that that will play out as it should play out. So he's lying. So the big scandal that erupted this last week at the diplomatic center, here's what Stuart Young is imagining. I would imagine that as it should play out. So that people, what he means, what we understand him to mean, people will forget, and they will just drink milk, forget his silk, and forget that a businessman, a billionaire from India, in the diplomatic center, shaking the Prime Minister's hands, except if I am not seeing correct, and I think I am, taking out picture, smiling both of them in the diplomatic center, but all of these charges hang over the head of that person. And then he says he don't know, he didn't know. And then we move on to another scandal, scandal after scandal. And then he tells us, tell the country, you have been solving the problems of the country one by one. You have been creating the problems of the country 10 by 10, 10 by 10. Over and over, a scandal, most scandalous affair. And it doesn't stop there. Stuart Young continues. And the article goes on. However, Young added, quote, from what I have seen as well, he is a successful businessman in India, one of the top businessmen, especially in the steel industry, end of quote. So if you're successful, never mind if you have procurement legislation, if you're successful as a businessman, never mind that you have charges over your head, never mind that you have the Prime Minister shaking the hand of this man who have all of these charges. If you're successful, to them, that is all that matters. So there's something has to be wrong with that. We are law-abiding citizens. We are told to drive on the correct side of the road, obey the speed limit, make sure your cars and your vehicles are well maintained. Otherwise, you're going to get ticket. And then there's this thing they call demerit points. They'll squeeze blood out of stone to make sure that you pay all of these taxes and so on. We are tax-paying people. We are law-abiding. But here comes a member of the cabinet, the silk man, telling the country that, well, he's a successful businessman. Yeah. So what does that mean? We don't need procurement legislation. We don't even need the process. Yeah. And then we can extend it to August and so on. So anything goes once it's them doing it. Anything goes once it's P&M doing it. But for us in the OWTU, anything must not go, no matter who. And that is why we continue to fall out with everybody, because we stand for truth and justice for the people. That is why we'll make enemies for the right thing. We will stand in the gateway, in the doorway of justice, ensuring that the people get value. That's what we are about. And so we raise this issue as the first step. There are a number of steps that we are going to be taking, the liberty of which I don't have this morning to announce it, but this issue must not rest at all, at all, at all. They would like it to die. You hear what Young said? I would imagine that it would play out. So there's some things that is going to play out with respect to them and the government not too long from now. So here's what, Trinidad and Tobago, here's what. So, on Labor Day, I raised a number of critical issues, life and death issues, issues affecting the livelihood and the lives of the people of this country. But not one word, not one response, an iota of a response coming from the Prime Minister on those critical issues that was raised on behalf of the people on Labor Day. Not one. All of those armchair bourgeois commentators and so on, who produce nothing, who don't know from A to Z about working in any industry, whether it's land or whether it's refinery or whether it's offshore or whether it is a daily rated work or whether it is whatever the nature of the work, they produce absolutely nothing. But they prop themselves up with the notion that what they say, they give expert advice and so on. So you have one Mariano Brown who epitomizes this armchair bourgeois know-it-all and knows absolutely nothing about anything that is real at all, commenting about trade unionists. Trade unions need to know, decide whether they're going in politics or whether they're going in trade union, saying in trade union representation and so on. I want to inform that person, that bourgeois commentator that trade union, if you go back and you just check the history, in this country itself, trade unions, the OWTU, Tuba Uriah Buzz Butler, were very much in the politics and the trade union movement. And for as long as it requires us, because it requires both the trade union representation and involvement in the politics to decide and to determine and to defeat the type of politics and their policies that affects the trade union representation. As long as that continues, we will continue to be in the politics and representing workers. In fact, you can only get effective representation of our members when we are involved in the politics that guides all of the policies that protects the workers and so on. So, on that point, before I depart that point, I just want to educate and to remind them. You see, what they do, they pray, attack on an uninformed public, a forgetful public, a public that does not really do any research, a public that generally goes after headlines and so on. So you see on the newspaper one headline in the front, on the front page, and inside the story going the opposite way. So they go with the headline, and nobody takes time to really get into even the article. But more precisely, these people, these bourgeois commentators, prey on the uninformed public. I want to remind Trinidad and Tobago, as it is our duty to remind Trinidad and Tobago and the world, that trade unions throughout the world support political parties, are involved in the politics of the respective countries. And let us examine one of the countries that they say, you know, they say when the Yankees sneeze, they catch cold. Yeah, America sneeze, Trinidad catch cold. And that we like to adapt and quote and mirror and take everything from America. Let us examine America. You have in the United States of America, the AFL CEO, American Federation of Labor and Congress, industrial organization. They endorsed Biden last year. You have the North America Building Trades Union. You have International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the Teamsters. You have United Steel Workers Union. You have United Auto Workers Union. And these unions in the United States, those federations, representing thousands of workers, and in some cases millions of workers, individually, but collectively, representing a huge chunk of the voting public, they give their support to whichever party, either the Democrat or the Republican, based on their policies or based on their projection of if they can support the interests that they represent, which is their members, the workers. So depending on where they feel their members will benefit, or where they believe their members are being attacked by one president as opposed to the other, they give their support, and it switches from president to president, from party to party. That is the United States of America. That's a fact. So anybody trying to make it feel that we did something wrong, or we doing something wrong by examining the policies of this party as opposed to the malgovernance we are getting from the PNM and Rowley, and trying to make the population feel that there is something wrong and it's only we who can switch. We will switch tomorrow and switch back the next day if we believe the interest that we are representing is not being served. And that is nothing new, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. The issue here is that we are sure right now that the Rowley and the PNM, they are not serving the interests of the people and the workers in this country. They're not. We are sure about that. They had one term, they faltered, blundered, failed. They had another term, well, they continue to falter, blunder, and fail. And with each day that passes, it is malgovernance with arrogance on the people who elect them to office. And that is a fact. So you have in the United Kingdom, Associated Society of Locomotive. You have a union called the CWU, the Communication Workers Union, not ours, but in the United Kingdom. You have Fire Brigade Union. You have National Union of Mine Workers. You have Transport Salaried Staff Association, Railway, London, Underground, Travel, Haulage, and Shipping, still in the United Kingdom. That's unions. You have Union of Shop Distributive and Allied Workers. That's the United Kingdom. Trade unions pledging their support, involved in the politics. But they want to make you believe here in Trinidad and Tobago that it is wrong for the trade unions to get involved in the politics, simply because it's PNM in power. When it was 2015, remember that? Remember, Rowley? When it was 2015, it wasn't wrong for the trade union because they was going to benefit. But now they're going to lose and be kicked out of office in shame. And we have to see to that. And this thing about coalition government and so on, and making you believe that is a bad thing. So you have in Israel, South Africa, Germany, Spain, Netherlands, Suriname, Curacao, coalition governments. Like if that is something wrong with that. So what they're trying to do is to set up the mind of the people, take more suffering, because you see the formula they're coming with, that wouldn't work. Try to scare the people, frighten the people that remember this and remember that. But we remember a lot of things about Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, the Doctor of Rocks. We remember a lot of things about him, and at the appropriate time we will be revealing those things one by one, and sometimes two by two as the numbers continue to increase. So the refinery, the Point-A-Pierre refinery, is the patrimony of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's remember that. And let's also remember that the Oilfields Workers Trade Union represented from inception those who would have given their sweat, their tears, their blood to build that refinery and to operate it, and also the producing fields, indeed the industry in Trinidad and Tobago. And today is an appropriate time to salute that effort that would have been given by those people, our fathers, and so on, who worked tirelessly in that refinery. So here's what they did not respond to, and I challenge them, all the bourgeois politicians, all the bourgeois and armchair commentators and mobilizers. They mobilize from an armchair at no risk to themselves. Fool the people, protect themselves as great repository of knowledge and so on, but have absolutely no idea, but a single idea to keep PNM in power. On the issue of crime, none of them have responded. None of them have challenged the information that we put out. None of them have said anything about, for 6 months in this year, 4,419 persons have been butchered, slaughtered in their homes and in the streets of Trinidad and Tobago. None of them said anything about that. None of them said anything about crime reaching double digit, migrating to Tobago for the first time. None of them said anything that under Rowley, under the Dr. Rock, Rowley, 4,419 people died since he came into office. Not one word about that. Well, the newspaper captured in a small headline, not a headline, in a small, the tiniest article. You have to take 2 or 3 binoculars to read that, about the incident where two teens were stabbed at the same family day, which Rowley spoke, which Rowley participated, which all the Silk people participated. At that same event, you had teens stabbing each other. On Labor Day, many more thousands and thousands of workers demanding justice for themselves and for Trinidad and Tobago marched the streets of Faizabad, not one incident. And yet you had the Archbishop of crime, sending all of the police, half of the police, into Faizabad to march with us. Well, she thinks she probably protesting because she sent all the police to march with us in Faizabad. Not one single incident. Those police should have been outside of Skinner's Park on Sunday and to prevent the incident that took place. And look at what. It's the point that we continue to make, that they neglect the young people in this country. They neglect the type of energies that come from the young people to properly direct it in a productive space. They neglect all of that. They have failed. And as if in a display, a proud display of their failure, this man gets up and talk all of that foolishness and then tell me to sing my calypso. Well, I will sing my calypso night and day and in between, because my calypso captures the very essence of the failure of you, Dr. Keith Rowley. I will sing it. I will sing it in the east, sing it in the west, sing it in the north, and sing my calypso in the south. And especially I'll sing it in Central, throughout Trinidad and Tobago. It's sweet music, good composition, yes, that comes from the trade union movement and OWW in particular, as we find new ways to get our message across. Because calypso is one of the means of getting message out to the people. And we will use that medium as we see fit. You have to tell me to sing my calypso, my brother. I will sing my calypso. And there's more coming, eh? There is more coming as we utilize the skill that we have, that we possess, untapped skill that we possess to be able to compose, to write, compose, and to sing, and to even perform. Yeah? Yeah. You are one kind of performance that failed the country. We come in different ways. Nothing was said about these bourgeois and armchair commentators about our GDP growth, that it fell from 3.9 in 2014 to 1.48% in 2024 under Rowley. No comment about that at all. I want them to challenge our figures, our information. Start by challenging our information. And all of those heads we have on the evening programs and PNM evening programs and Saturday morning programs and so on, two stupid dogs and so on, who knows nothing else. They are captured on the black and white Scotch whiskey bottle. Yeah? Two stupid dogs on that morning program on Saturday morning and in the evening program, defending the defenseless PNM policies. I want them, let's go into it. Challenge the numbers that I put out. Challenge it. That's the way to go. Don't go after personality. Challenge the numbers. So we fell. Our country credit rating fell from AAA in 2014 to BBB plus in 2023. It's Trinidad and Tobago we're talking about under Rowley. And of course, our crude oil production fell precipitously, yes, by 33.4%. The commodity upon which we depend for foreign exchange fell because they failed by 33.4% from 81,262 in 2014 to 53,726 barrels of oil per day in 2023. That's under PNM. Under 2014, it wasn't PNM, but from that time to now, it has fallen by 33.4%. Challenge that. Tell me that I'm wrong. And let's have a constructive discussion around where I get my information and what you know to be the correct information. But they can't do that. So you will hear them talking all kinds of other things. Yes? To obfuscate and to skew the issue and to have other discussions other than the real thing that affects the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Heritage, that they talk about, boast about heritage, that heritage was the answer. Under heritage, oil production fell by 22.2% from 35,343 in 2014. Under Petrotrin, to 27,496 in 2023 under heritage. So under Rowley, oil production fell. And then you have gas production. Gas is running out in this country, you know. Gas is running out in this country. A decline by some 36.4% from 4,071 million standard cubic feet daily in 2014 to 2,587 million standard cubic feet in 2023. A decline of some 36.4%. Challenge that. Challenge where, ask me where I get my figures from. But no, they wouldn't do that. To hide their incompetence and their bungling and their foolishness, to hide that, they will talk about other things. So they fail with crime, they fail with the economy, they fail with the energy sector, they pointed to some dragon deal that might never. The only dragon thing about that dragon deal is the dragon behavior of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We expect very, very little to become of that, as certainly that would not come on stream until long after they leave the office. But they want to fool you to try to get a chance to stay in the office. Long after they depart office in 2028, that project, gas will begin to flow in the pipes. But as of now, they want to fool you. But I wouldn't even talk about labor legislation because they are what? An anti-worker, anti-labor government. So we don't expect them to bring any labor legislation at all. And of course, nothing Trinidad and Tobago. And I want the young people to listen. The young people who they will be coming to parade you in the sports day and the foolishness and so on. The young people who suffer in silence every day in this country. Young single mothers who have to get up very early every day that God sends to go and do work in the public service, in all of the different ministries and so on. These, our young people, are now given month-to-month contract. Month-to-month contract, and you solving the problems one by one every day. Nothing was said about that. Our youths who qualify themselves, go to school, learn well, month-to-month contract. Those who are fortunate to get a job. And many hundreds of thousands of them cannot get a job. But those who get a job, they are exploited. And this leprechaun, they call him, this man who taxed blood out of stone, who want now NIS benefits for you to receive that after age 65. You have to wait an additional 5 years to receive that. Who instructs and design all kinds of policies, all kinds of punitive tax measures and so on, with penalties to get tax for the shortfall that they want to make up in the revenue. So you fail in economy, you fail with energy, you fail with crime, you fail across the board. But to what? To make up for your shortfall is property tax, increase electricity rate, increase water rates to come, all of those things. And listen to Trinidad and Tobago. Don't forget, don't forget where they put, it's not even on the back burner. It's somewhere simmering right there on the stove. They are increasing salaries. Mark my word, as soon as they get into office, God forbid if that ever happens, they're coming back to increase their salaries and so on. These are the heartless people. So that is what we get. That is what the country for supporting that nonsense and so on. But we will keep our eyes on the prize, and we will continue to inform the public what it means for another 5 years under Dr. Rowley. Yeah? More crime, more vagrancy, more unemployment, more attack on trade unions. And as I say that, where you ever hear in the world that it's okay for them to attack the trade unions, And it's okay for us to remain silent about that. It's okay for us in the OWTU or in the trade union movement because we are African and PNM is an African. African or not, colonialist or not, whosoever in charge of the governance of this country, this trade union, the OWTU, will attack you with full force. So they believe they're coming with a racial thing and the racial undertones. Don't support them people. If you support them people who are saying it, because what? I'm not afraid to say it. My union give me the liberty to say that. That's what it is. To try to turn your mind away from that. But the same people who support them for 52 years and counting are suffering right now and has not been elevated at all. And that those people in the PNM will be happy to see the same people cleaning windscreens, yeah, when you go up to a traffic light. They will be happy to see the same people begging on the streets. They will be happy to see the same people working in CPEP. They will be happy to see the same people scrambling for a living. They will be happy to see the same people involved in all kinds of crime and so on. That is what you will get from PNM. That is what you have always gotten, and it has accelerated under Keith Christopher Rowley. And what I'm saying this morning, challenge me on the statistics. Challenge me on my facts. Come with no stupid trying to skirt or to change the conversation at all. Challenge me on the information about this big scandal that is about to erupt in Trinidad and Tobago, where you have the Prime Minister stepping outside of the process, except if I miss something, stepping completely outside of the process and entertaining. I didn't know that Patriotic was called to the diplomatic center as part of the process. I didn't know that the other contenders was called to the diplomatic center as part of the process. But special treatment is given out, and mankind now is saying he didn't know. And he's excused for not knowing as the Prime Minister of this country. Well, finally, I just want to say, again, to end, wait, we don't have the calypso. We should have been singing the calypso for Ivan, man. I want to hear it. Yeah? I'm singing a cappella for you. But, yeah. But I don't want that to be the article. I don't want that to be the article. Another time, we will come here and we'll go elsewhere. In fact, when we start to hit the road, you will hear us all over the place with additional verses because there are no end of issues coming from this failed, corrupt PNM government. Yes? So that's it. So I want you to find out if this is the same person. If this is the same person, if it's one and the same. This fella, yeah? Where is it, guys? This is the word here. It's a very serious word. It's a very serious word, eh? Bribery. If this fella and this fella, if they are the same people, same person, right? We have to find out that. Do your investigation. Eh? When you find out if,
Thank you.
yeah, if they're the one and the same. And if it's the same, if it's not the same, well then we could what? According to Stuart Young, we could let play out if it's not the same. But by God, for heaven's sake, Trinidad and Tobago, for goodness sake, for abiding with the law's sake, if that person and the person who's shaking the Prime Minister's hand in the diplomatic center, the People's Diplomatic Center, if that is one and the same, then we have a crisis. Then we have a problem in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much. You have always been so kind and helpful and courteous. Any questions?
So the refinery has been working for 6 years. Does the union take your head? How do you endorse it to bring the refinery back up and running? And could you also give us an explanation in terms of how much money you use in the refinery? Is that tens of millions? But any specific number that you would like to share with us?
Oh no, you just want to say that we have expended quite a lot of resources, yes, tens of millions, yeah? And that's as much as we would say for now, because we have the evidence to show that. And on the other hand, yes, I think that we are the only people who, given the fact that that refinery has been mothballed for those number of years and has deteriorated over that period of time, we are the only people with the knowledge of those assets that can bring those assets back into operation. The workers who worked there before, who would have a working knowledge of what was supposed to have been overhauled and involved in turnarounds and so on, and what was have just completed turnaround and so on, and what are the plants that would be required to come on stream in a phase basis, first of all, to allow for the country to benefit from that. I speak confidently about the knowledge of the persons to do that. And let me just say, as I talk about speaking confidently about the refinery, on Labor Day, we would have, and I, on behalf of the OWTO and the trade union movement, would have put out a challenge to the Silkman, Energy Minister, Stuart Little, and the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, both of them bringing all of their members of their team. They could bring their armchair commentators and bring everybody, anybody they feel that could assist them, but to face off with us in a public debate as in the reasons for the closure of Petrotrin and the operations, continued operations of Petrotrin. Let's let the public hear once and for all if he knew what he was doing when he shut down that very valuable forex earning assets in 2018. And we can have that at Napa, we could have it at Sapa, we could have it at Queen's Hall, we could have it at Queen's Park, Savannah, we could have it at the same Skinner's Park, we could have it in Center of Excellence, we could have it in Brian Lara Stadium, we could have it, but it must be a public debate. We will bring our experts, and we will talk about the different types of crude that would yield the different, I want to ask the Silkman, what are the different types of crude? Yeah? I don't want to give away too much because he'll go and do research. But we want them on the spot with their experts. We come with 100 questions, they come with 100 questions. We get an independent facilitator from somewhere in the Caribbean if we have to have that. Because everybody belong to one side or the other here in Trinidad. Somebody from outside to facilitate. And on that day, I hand them my questions, they hand me theirs. And of course, they hand the facilitator. Question for question, down the road. And let us see, we will prove once and for all to this country, that they don't know what they are doing with the energy sector or any other sector. Let's have a public debate, man. Which is? For the money part?
Yes.
Yes, we have, yes.
We don't know how deep your pockets are. Right?
Not our pockets. Not our pockets. Yeah, but it's not our pockets. But certainly with the with the assistance and support of those who have bought in wholly and solely to our case, to our information that those assets can be profitable, they have pledged the financial support for the restart of the refinery and for the running of the refinery. So we have the backings. So I'm saying that all of those things are thwarted when you have someone going outside of the process and making the country believe that there's not even a process being engaged, because he didn't speak about the process being engaged. He talked about extending the date because it was supposed to be in June. That announcement was supposed to be made. That is why they had this hard deadline of May the 10th for the submission of the bids and so on. But he has extended it. Who has he extended it to facilitate?
Have you got any kind of personal correspondence regarding the extension?
No, absolutely not.
Is there anything you can do to write or engage the who's overseeing the process?
Exactly.
Can you
That is, yes. In the face of this, those questions are being raised by with those who are in charge of the process? Is it that we are in a process just for Mama Guy and so on? Of course, we know the answer to that where OWTU is concerned. And let me just say, we are under no illusions. We know that Dr. Rowley and his government and his deceitful government, we know that they know, given the OWTU an opportunity to run those assets, we know that they know it will benefit the people, all of the workers, all of the people in the South. They know that. Jobs for our members, not just our members, the spin-off effect for the country, and that the different organizations, the credit union and so on, the NGOs and so on, arts, culture and so on, will benefit as a result of us operating those assets. They know that. But they are not about the people. They are not about the people. They are about a small group, a little clique and so on. And when the dust has settled, you would check and see who is the local business outfit that is connected to where they are pointing right now. And that's all that I want to say about that at this point in time. We are for the people. We are not too sure who they are connected with.
Involved in the bidding process.
Yes.
So based on the extension, that group of the governmental institution or fair others also including yourself?
Well, all of those things are being currently examined. All of those things. That announcement was made on 2 days ago, yeah, by the person who's in charge of the cabinet, who's in charge of the government, yeah. So all of those things are being examined.
So they were supposed to do that audit starting in August.
What?
The finance said that they were going to take an audit of the asset of the refinery starting in August.
Well, I didn't hear him say that, no? No, I didn't hear him say that.
In August, they were going to have an inventory of...
Oh, no, I didn't hear him say that. About the assets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the after, but when you all have bid, I know you all do some walking through the refinery. Was that done also?
With who? With who? But if you know we did it, we did it. Yeah, we did that. We did that. And for a very limited amount of time. And for a guided tour and so on.
Right.
Yeah. So they still need a proper inspection still needs to be done. Yeah, on those assets. So you have a lot of mama guy taking place with one set of people. And then you have another set of people making announcements outside of that process. And we are under no illusion, you know. We are in that process to be able to have a say, a concrete say, factual say at the end of the process. So that we wouldn't be talking from outside, we'll be talking from a point of information. But we know where they're going, we know where they're going with that. And there's a major political price to be paid for bringing pain and suffering to the people of this country by the shutting down of the petroleum company of Trinidad.
Prime Minister also said on cable to show that you can sustain the refinery by getting your own oil. And
But that's part of what we have been so satisfied all of the time. Yeah, but as I said, that is not their concern. But how it is a man who says that the country is coming out the refining business is stretching straight across the globe and inviting to the diplomatic center somebody to deal with the same business. I thought it was supposed to be an independent process that would throw up the one who is successful. But that's not independent. That is not independent. And we feel that extreme bias was displayed by that particular act or meeting that took place last week.
So the bidding process was closed in May, right?
Yes.
So Refinery now saying it's like spending what to do that this other companies invited and entities invited to bid again.
Well, we don't know. Well, that is a question. Yeah, he had to answer, Radical. We don't know. Because sometimes they say, when they say run, you have to stand up. When they say stand up, you have to run like hell with these people. Yeah, with these people. Yeah, but we really don't know. And in any case, isn't there a little tray that you're supposed to have that says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you put your tablets in it and so on so that you won't forget? It has Sunday on it too, eh? Yeah? All the days in the week. Yeah.
We talk about, again, the government paying the political tax. Subsequent to the closure of Petroleum, we didn't see that happen.
Yeah.
We have a political multi-union.
Yeah.
It has failed to get the support of the movement. Now, talk about, I think Olympic has a history of supporting political parties. I've been here for a little while, and you've had people, your predecessors talking about their intervention and influencing a particular outcome of the election. What difference can it make? Are we looking become openly, and I think publicly said that you want to join ranks with the ANC and all of that. But we're looking at the internal ranking of the ANC. And is it an alternative, a viable alternative to what we have now, because they can't even seem to get it together within, right? So how can they be an alternative to TP?
Right, well, first of all, let me address on that point, and I'm glad you raised that because it needs further clarification before this press conference is concluded. First of all, let me just point back to the information that I gave almost at the top of this press conference, that it is not wrong or strange for a union or unions or union federation in any country to throw their support behind any government where they believe their interest is going to be served. And I cited a number of examples in first world countries. All right, so I just want to go back to restate that. So that's a fact, and that is okay to do that. That is being done as we speak in the United States of America. Right. Now, in 2020, perhaps 2020 came at a time where people did not feel enough hurt and pain and suffering. Indeed, a number of people did not understand when we told them that whether you work in Petrotrin or not, you would feel the pressure, the closure of that valuable state enterprises which produce the fuel locally for us here. And subsequently, you would have seen the number of times that they would have raised fuel prices, and they're coming to do that again. So the point is that the pain and suffering from 2020 to now has increased exponentially. We have more crime, we have with more murders, more home invasion, more retrenchments, more exploitation of workers, more, we had the firing recently of the president of the court. The decimation of democratic institutions, all of those things happening at increasing momentum. More loss of foreign exchange and so on. More reduction in the supply of natural gas and crude. All of those things continue to happen. If we don't put a stop to that, we will only get worse. And there's no sign or no indication to us and to the majority of people in this country that under this government, it will get any better. Now, is the question posed in a way that says to us that we should continue with that? And if we have already resolved that we are not going to continue with that, I think that the labor movement will act as a sort of a magnet, a sort of an element in that whole equation of the coming together under what we describe as a national front alliance, not just the UNC. And I think that the election has gone and that will resolve itself. I don't hold to the view that there will continue to be problems in the UNC. I disagree with that. The stakes is too high. The stakes too high. We're talking about survival of Trinidad and Tobago, and their act will be, in fact, I think that has already begun to mend. And that is what, adding to the labor movement, not just to the UNC, I said all political parties and entities that are opposed to the madness and chaos that are taking place right now, we are going to invite all of them to join with us in a National Front Alliance, not a political party, but a National Front Alliance, a national approach where we all will come together to deal with the problems that confront us on a night and day basis with this runaway government, this overreach government. Look at this. Look at this. The country should be in uproar for this thing that is happening. This is overreach. This is madness. This is chaos. This is scandal. And even if there were no charges, I want to say, even if there were no charges preferred against this gentleman, it is still wrong. There's still procurement legislation. And in the double whammy here, the fact that there's procurement legislation, he overreach and display this bias. And then when you dig deeper into the records, look what emerged. We are in a bad place. Yeah, we are in a bad place. And let me just say, Yvonne, if you outside in the waters and you're drowning and a pirogue pass and you see a hand stretch out to save you, you're going to examine. No. I don't want to save you. Don't save me. Then you're going to tell that person you're drowning now. Trinidad and Tobago is drowning. We all have to come together right now to save Trinidad and Tobago. We're drowning. And if it takes, join in, and if in case you open your fridge and you close the door and you didn't hear, if it takes joining with the UNC to save Trinidad and Tobago, we will join with the UNC to save Trinidad and Tobago. Regardless of all of the naysayers who say, regardless of what they say, they will benefit because we have a responsibility to this country. We can't be more vexed than smart. We have to be prudent. Yeah, it can't be. They didn't put that into the calculations at all, They believe that we will never join with the UNC. But they're worse than the UNC. They're worse than the UNC. We will make the UNC, help them to be a better UNC. And we will help everybody to be better as all of us come together. Yeah, we will be part of everything that is good to save Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, we will add. We won't take away, we will add. What? Yeah, because they've been there and done that with PNM too. They wouldn't recall that before. It was Manning. Yeah, they wouldn't recall that, and then PNM come back again. They wouldn't recall that. But they had to recall that because we had well, listen, you had these 2 terms, 2 terms of failure. And there's nothing in the Bhagwan Gita, the Quran, or the Bible that say PNM had to run this country. There's nothing in anyone else's good books. Read it from cover to cover. There's nothing. God never spoke to us, to Moses or anybody else, and said that, listen, PNM had to run Trinidad and Tobago, even if they're failing, even if they're corrupt, even if the economy bad, even if crime. God never said that. God said, by the work, sweat of thy brow, thou shalt eat bread. God said, do the work. Faith alone is dead. You have to do the work too. And the work we have to do is to remove the corrupt PNM from government. There'll be a brighter dawn, a new day where all our children and youths will get opportunities and so on. That's what we're talking about right now. Those are the discussions we have to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place.
Anywhere in those articles regarding Mr. General about the outcome of the, are those matters still pending, or have they been resolved? Has it been fined or sentenced or anything?
No.
So they're still pending, those matters?
But this is the information. There's no information to to suggest to us that those matters have been resolved. Yeah? Yeah. Even the very article talk about currently before the courts. Yeah.
2 years ago, you would have said that it would take about $2 billion to restart the refinery back then. I think, but for 2 years on, how much would it cost now to restart the refinery?
A proper and detailed inspection would determine the exact cost, but the numbers that we have put, and we don't want to disclose those things because those things are, yeah. And in any case, putting those numbers out in the face of competition would not be a smart thing. It wouldn't be a smart thing, right? So you have a fellow who fly from wherever you fly from, straight into the diplomatic center and so on. No, nothing but refinery. You have to start with, his business is not refinery. His business is yes. Yeah, his business. Why did it say what his business is what? Say that again? His business is the what?
Yeah, Mr. Roget, in your boat analogy, it suggests that it's out of a means of necessity.
That's right.
You would have spoken about trade unions internationally.
Yes.
And like yourself, not afraid of politics. Can you say, like other unions have said in other countries, who does the OWT endorse?
No, well, we have, you remember on Labor Day, I said that the trade union movement, with the exception of some unions, because we did take tutor out. I want to say that, that there's no need for tutor to hold a press conference. Take tutor out, with the exception of tutor, Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, and any other union that is apolitical, with the exception of them. We have agreed that we're going to, in the interest of our members, not just our, and the country, the man in the street, in the interest of our children, in the interest of the future of this country, we are going to be meeting with all political parties, all, with the exception of none. But we'll also meet with the country's opposition party. We can't leave them out. So we'll also be meeting with the UNC. And at the end of the day, our real objective is to bring everybody together to be a part of that National Front Alliance to deal. That is what it is. And at the end, we really start talking. You will hear all who are giving support, and at the end of the day, at the end of those discussions. But we are not leaving out anyone. The only people we're leaving out is the people who are giving us problem. I think you would believe that makes sense, eh? Yeah, those who create the problem can't be expected to solve the problem. And the PUM certainly create the problem. And let me ask, and finally.
But just before you move on, other trade unions specify a political leader or a political party?
No. We... No, but why? How is that so hard to understand? The UNC is the opposition party in this country. We will be meeting with the UNC also, so get that out of the way. And all other political entities to form, not just us and the UNC, to form a National Front Alliance. Yeah? All of us will come together to address the problems that affect all of us, and by extension, the people of this country.
So this National Front won't be contesting an election. So
it's not a political party.
No, I understand that.
But when we
in terms of an election, who does the OWT support and endorse, like you said, other trade unions and other countries?
Well, the discussions will throw that out. The discussion will determine what it is called. Yeah. If it has to be UNC, so be it. We don't have a problem with that. But I wanted to grasp the point with both hands that we will be meeting with all, because it can't just be UNC fighting the country's problem. It's not just affecting UNC. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting us too. So we can't stand by and allow UNC alone to fight. No, all of us have to fight.
Would you be prepared to make that kind of intervention? Because
what kind of intervention?
I'm coming to it because you have already the NTA and the UNC at loggerheads, right? They came together for the last local government election, but they have, that thing has gone awry for some time. So all those other parties, because the UNC would have been on record as saying that people are free to join them,
yes,
but they are not relenting and they're not going to join or come under any other banner. So, in light of that and that kind of antagonism between the UNC and some of the other smaller political parties, are you all prepared, as you say, towards this National United, this fund?
Yeah, we get that right, National
Are you all prepared to intervene to help these parties come together? Is that what it is?
Well, I can speak to the problems, the internal problems of the UNC, and I wouldn't profess to do that.
No, but I'm saying that there is a kind of distrust which exists now, right? And if you are...
I can't speak to that. I can't sanction that, so here or there with that.
In terms of putting together the parties, would you be...
No, but
in doing that?
here's what it is. Here's what it is. It is a situation where there's clear and present danger. And it's not just clear and present, it is affecting Trinidad and Tobago. And the more time we spend on little issues like that, is the more it will benefit our oppressors, the PNM. The PNM wants those type of discussions. That is a little problem here and a little problem there. It is not about the UNC. It is about saving Trinidad and Tobago, of which UNC will be a constituent part, we hope. So that when we talk with A, B, C, D, well, A, B, U, and C, we want everybody, we want to be part of a coming together to save Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, keep your eyes on that target, because as we continue we have very little time to really ponder this or that. That's what the PNM want. That will benefit them. And we are not about to hand them anything that would benefit them at the expense of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It's not about the UNC. I want to make that point for those who want to go with the headline. It's not about the UNC. This is about PNM that is sinking Trinidad and Tobago. If we what? MSJ still have a lot of potential. And we'll see how that plays out. Because remember, I say, it's a continuum, and things are getting worse by the minute in Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, on Sunday itself, people were murdered in this country. So while somebody said they're solving the thing one by one, people dying 3 by 3, 4 by 4. I'm solving the country's problem one by one, but people dying 4 by 4, 3 by 3 on a daily basis. That doesn't bother people. It doesn't bother people to see all these headlines, blood in the streets. It bothers us because those are human beings. Those are breadwinners. Those are families now that would go without a breadwinner because people are butchered. Look at what happened in Paria. No compensation. No compensation for the family. That doesn't bother members of the media. That no compensation for these people while their breadwinners died. And the people who were there when that happened, they are still on the job, still working, earning a bread every day. In fact, an individual contract was renewed, earning $112,000 a month on a renewed contract in a situation where people perish in a pipeline. We have a conscience in the OWTU. And we subscribe to the Malcolm X philosophy that by any means necessary, we will remove Rowley and the corrupt PNM. Well, like that, you reminded me about that. So when we ask those questions that you were asking just now, that is the type of headlines that we want to scream. Look at that. Look at that. I want to ask, how does the taxpayers, this fellow who just talked about the taxpayers, how the taxpayers benefited from that settlement with ANV? Explain that. How did the taxpayers, and that was not a judgment of the court. How did the taxpayers benefit from that? And in the face of that, more contracts to ANV. How did the taxpayers benefited from that? Tell me. Any taxpayers had to pay that? There was no Petrotrin, but the taxpayers now have to pay those over $100 million in a settlement with ANV. How we benefited from that? How are taxpayers benefiting from these from these their government ministers on a monthly basis, receive millions of dollars in rental. How the taxpayers benefited from that? These are the questions that you have to ask them, because the taxpayers do benefit from that. Yeah? So when we talk about the UNC and so on, that is secondary. Our mission is to let the taxpayers benefit, and they're not benefiting under those three most dangerous words, three most dangerous letters when you bring them together. Never before there has been an amalgamation of three dangerous letters when they come together in the alphabet. The P, the N, and the M. When you bring them together, spell death for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, we are back. Now, what would have taken place there is a discussion today at the OWT headquarters with Comrade Roget, in which he would have spoken truth to facts. Now, all of these allegations that is existing here within the public domain, no question from a runaway president, prime minister, matter of fact, why the hell I call him a president? And to you, the people at Trinidad and Tobago, now is 8:05. We are running this broadcast live from the Workers' Rights, Human Rights platform. Live. I'm your host, Renison Jeffrey. And with that, we are going to sign out. I know many of you who have listened on, please subscribe to our channel, be a part of this fastest growing network. And we will continue to bring you more commentary like this on a continual basis, because we believe that you deserve the truth and proper representation in Trinidad and Tobago, regardless to who it is. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. The statement from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley at a PNM public meeting in Marabella on Tuesday night. In the heartland of the Pointe-a-Pierre Refinery, the Prime Minister said the government was so confident with the rectitude of its action that it was not prepared to shy away from the people who are affected most by the action. He also had one message for the mothers, sisters, neighbors, and those attached to the Petrotrin business.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
The Prime Minister described Petrotrin as an integrated company involved in many areas of business.
It's involved in owning assets. It's involved in looking for oil. It's involved in piping oil. It's involved in drilling for oil. It's involved in refining oil and getting refined products. It's involved in marketing its refined products. A mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. We're going to kill you politically. We're going to kill you politically.
As this government continues to champion crime and criminality in this country. As this government continues to champion crime and criminality.
A mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. We're going to kill you politically. We're going to kill you politically.
As this government continues to champion crime and criminality in this country. As this government continues to champion crime and criminality in this country.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. The statement from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley at a PNM public meeting in Marabella on Tuesday night. In the heartland of the Pointe-a-Pierre Refinery, the Prime Minister said the government was so confident with the rectitude of its action that it was not prepared to shy away from the people who are affected most by the action. He also had one message for the mothers, sisters, neighbors, and those attached to the Petrotrin business.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
The Prime Minister described Petrotrin as an integrated company involved in many areas of business.
It's involved in owning assets. It's involved in looking for oil. It's involved in piping oil. It's involved in drilling for oil. It's involved in refining oil and getting refined products. It's involved in marketing its refined products.